Hello, hello. Francisca, how's it
Okay,
going?
it's good. Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining on to another an interview with me and people just like you.
My pleasure.
I'm excited to talk to you today and get into some of what's going on in your world. The purpose is really to just get a window into what someone else's life is like. What are you all about? What are your fears? What are your inspirations, your excitements? Just what's kind of top of mind for you? I'm curious, and this is kind of a loaded or optimized question for you, knowing that you've worked in politics for a little bit, or at least not politics, but journalism, and where you are now. Tell me, are you a political person?
Yeah, big time.
Hmm.
Big
Tell me
time.
more.
I actually remember being in history class. I was in the 10th grade, when Obama would have been reelected.
Hmm.
And I remember my history teacher turning it on and being like, "This is important. We're gonna watch this in class." And I was like, "I don't give a shit." I was like, "Whatever." I was like, so boring. And I loved history and I loved history class and I took all the hard histories and I like history a lot. In fact, like that's how I got to journalism and now I work at Wikipedia, which makes perfect sense because that's how I learned the majority of things that I know. And but so I will say that that was like a big moment in that I noticed that it happened and then I later realized, wow, I didn't give a shit about that and I felt guilty and weird about it and I was like, whoa, now I understand the importance of this. But it also was like the Arab Spring, really, that I think like momentously changed my life. And I
Hmm.
was like, holy shit, it's actually happening.
Just
Revolution is
seeing.
happening in my lifetime. I was like, this is real. Look at how people are reacting to it. Look at how this country is reacting to it. Islamophobia is wild. Like, how is, what are the Democrats doing? What are the Republicans saying? What does all of this mean? And then I started learning about history and I was like, communism is cool. And like, all these like crazy communist guys, like your Karl Marxes and your Lenins and your Vladimir Putin's, not Vladimir Putin's, your Vladimir Lenin's, and your Vladimir Putin bad. Just for the record. Um, and also, I guess I'm from Rosario, which is where Che Guevara is from. And then I started to become conscious of like how visible he is in that city. I've seen his face my whole entire life. Every single time that I was in Rosario, I remember his face is just plastered all over the place. And like his presence and like the presence of like labor history is very real in that city. And maybe I didn't know that, but it was more in my culture than I thought it was. And I started to realize that growing up. And then I
So
just
was
fucking
it?
cared. I don't know. So many people don't care. So and
Mm,
it's jarring and unfortunate and really infuriating to me.
mm,
Um, and then further on infuriating is the fact that really voting is the only thing that seems to do anything, but not very much anymore.
mm.
So anyways, I think you were gonna ask a question.
I Yeah, I had one in mind, but I'm curious about what you just mentioned and even tying into your experience in the industry and now Wikipedia is so goading doesn't goading is the only has been the only thing that has worked to get people to pay attention and care. But is it starting to reach the end of its effect? Are people habituating to being goaded? What are your thoughts on how people are reacting to news and political information these days?
Um, it's a massive topic. I think the short and long of it really is that social media really has had that massive an effect on our world. It's so easy to say that, and everyone can say that. I think everyone would agree that Facebook essentially single-handedly changed the world, has changed the world, and continues to do so on, I would argue, a day-to-day basis.
Mhm.
given the power that they have to just push a lever and change behavior. Um, it's fucking the worst thing of all time. Um, and notice how I'm both attributing fucking the worst thing of all time and also the thing that changed me the most in my life, the Arab Spring, is literally the same thing. It's Facebook. The Arab Spring happened because of Facebook. How many more Arab Springs have happened since the Arab Spring? It's because Facebook
Mm.
chose to make that stop. They made it way harder to have political conversations openly or in closed groups. They made it because they want to be brand safe. They made it hard for people to actually meet IRL. They can make these things happen. It's not conspiracy theory. It sounds like it when you say it,
Mm.
and you don't have like a direct like backup research. Like I can't give you like, according to this paper right now, but it's there. It's in the journalism. It's in the it's in the um it's in the politics, it's in the commentary. And so back to your original question, um what works to get people to listen is that it's so loaded because I don't think that people don't have the ability to listen. In fact, the the proof is in the fact that, there are so many more gender identifications, for example, in the world now. Like people
'Cause people
have
listen and
been
cared
able
enough,
to go
or
beyond be able to go outside of their communities and see possibilities and differences, and now they can. So, maybe in the past someone who was trans was just like, I'm gay because they'd never even seen a trans person. But then maybe they saw a trans person and they'd be like, oh holy shit, maybe I am trans. And it's a way for these people to explore those identities, is visibility. So that kind of thing works. Now, again, maybe that's a consequence of social media that is positive and maybe not purposeful from Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. But I do think that a purposeful one is the destruction of news media. Partially it comes down to, they sucked up all the ads. Good for them. That's just
mm.
business. Um, but I think they also make conscious choices along the way, and conscious choices that they knew would screw with the way that people consumed media, the way that people shared media, the kinds of conversations that were they made easy to have, the kind of media that they made popular, quote unquote, all the alt-right stuff, pay more attention to audiences, what people actually want. Like the editor is no longer untouchable. um
Mm.
Editors were like, oh wow, like almost like a politician in themselves, like a taste maker. It's fucking bullshit, and I always think that's bullshit. That's gatekeeping. That's like white people being evil white people. Like that's just the way that they are. Getting to those points, to get to that point, you had to be like a massive rich evil white person. Now it's a little easier for people of color, different people, um to to is it easier to access? Probably not, because there's less positions, but like the arguments for existing as a person of color are greater in those environments. Still, those environments have a hard time handling those kinds of people. Um, and that's definitely my experience in the news. But like beyond, again, right? Like I said at the beginning, it's like my life's not about me, I don't think. And so it's like, although I may have had a really bad experience in the news and working in the news, I still think that it's the most valuable thing in the world. And now I'm lucky to keep working on that subject of truth and fact at another institution, maybe an institution that, as far as like last 2.5, almost 3 months I've been working there, seems to like me a little more than the Guardian. Um, but or just accept my beard and my tattoos, and maybe sometimes my a little funny quirky thing I might say, or sometimes my accent comes out, but not too much. um and And so I still think that I'm working for truth, fact, honesty, reality, humanism, um, the right thing, morality, good, and journalism does that. So I continue to fight it and protect it and fight. And I don't know, am I ever gonna work at Facebook? Maybe. Depends on the project.
Mm,
Because that's something that like when I was a teenager, I probably would have been like, fuck no. But life changes and things are different. Um,
yeah.
right. And I still think, for example, right, if working at Facebook made it easier for me to see my family, I would.
Mm,
And that matters.
trade-offs.
So, right, it's those trade-offs.
Yeah.
Um, but depends on what we're doing at Facebook as well. I have limits. I have
Nice.
limits.
Yeah. Just to go one layer into that a little bit, what are some of your hopes or hopes or dreams for the future of news and politics?
Look, I think that one of the main experiences in my life that changed my life for the better was very much an interaction like this, in which I got to speak very deeply with someone. This was actually through work, and I realized that when I was doing it, that it was part of the reason I got into journalism was
Mm,
for the people, the ability to interface with humanity.
hmm
Um, so I went to Ohio. I may have told you this story before, I don't know, but I went to Ohio to do a shoot, to do a video, with a woman and her family who lived in a like super rural, off the off road. In fact, she even said that people often call them like the hills have eyes people. She was like, but we're not like hills have, you see, like you're alive. I'm not trying to kill you. It's like Jesus Christ. So you get the idea of the kind of person um, that they are, like really rural trailer park folks. And the story there was that she's a totally white-skinned woman who, and I'll send you this video if you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool, um, who has like black facial features.
Mm,
Like if you looked at her and you were like, whoa, she looks black, but she's totally white.
mm,
And she has like, she's very mixed background ethnically and racially, and she openly uses the N-word to talk about herself. And
mm.
so the conversation was like, what, how, and why. And basically you hear her talk and she's like, I've been an N-word to other people my whole life. So people call me the N-word because whether I look like it or because of where I'm from, because of how much money I make, because of my accent, what I buy and what I eat, people say I'm an N-word. People right here say I'm an N-word. So I am an N-word. And her daughter, who is honestly just looks like an Irish person, they might think of an Irish person, was like, Mom, I don't say that. She's like, you don't have to say it because your dad's white. I'm gonna say it because my great grandma or my grandma or whatever was a quarter Native American, half white, another quarter black, and quarter, and it's a story about really like the mixing of the United States and the ethnic diversity that we have. But what I learned the most was, these are people who they don't have internet. They have schools, they shop at Walmart, but they never like I went with a British guy who was the videographer, and they asked him, so Tom, you're from England. Do you know the Queen? Extremely earnestly. This is something that if someone said that to you in New York City, you'd laugh in their face. You'd be like, what are you, stupid? But the reality was that was the closest they've ever been to a British person. And for me, at first I was a little bit reticent to say that I was Hispanic. Um, but after a day and a half of talking to them and meeting them, I was like, yeah, I was born in Argentina. I know Spanish. They were like, whoa, you know Spanish? That's crazy.
Wow.
You know? And what it taught me was the honest earnestness of naivete, that there are people who are different And, that's the most powerful thing that can happen, is having met them. And it was a life-changing experience for the two of us. The two groups of us, they were like,
Mhm.
we saw you with, I don't want to do the accent, but like kind of country accent. Like, we saw you come down like from New York with your cameras, but you're wearing Levi's jeans just like us. And I was like, bang, bang on. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And I was like, if you voted, you probably voted for Trump. And like, you may have heard like bad hombres or whatever, but like, we had dinner and we had a good time, and we were fun, and we told jokes and we laughed. And I'd never been in a trailer home, and I did. And I was like, wow. And I got to know these people from interfacing. And
yeah.
so that's what my hope for the world and for journalism and for politics is that we get to interface with different people that are like us, and that we have abilities to cross paths. Though I think that the reality of the world politically makes that increasingly harder.
Hmm. Yeah, that's actually one of the core thoughts or vision pieces of people just like you is to like come together in some way that you're interfacing or like taking in an understanding of what makes another person human. And we will always find commonalities. We're not gonna, it's not that we'll find like so many that we'll say like, oh, we're long lost brothers, but just like that, you wear Levi's jeans too. We enjoy food too. Like we are all humans. We are all humans who have our
Yeah,
differences, but have so many commonalities, and we'd be surprised at that. And that doesn't come out. That's not the first thing that comes to mind when like you're alluding to as things become, to use that catchphrase, more polarized and people move to opposite
yeah,
directions and they focus, and we all are goaded into focusing more on the groups and the tribes, that becomes lost. But there is just, yeah, that's a hope that I share as well, that we re-find our humanity and connection with other people, and just realize that we're all trying to make it through life. We all struggle
yeah.
with a lot of similar
And
things.
what I'll say is like the truth of the matter is like, you have to be the change you want to see in the world. Like, to use the corniest phrase, but it's like
It's a
I
good
remember
quote.
when I it's just fucking true. The when I moved to New York, I remember finding everyone really fucking rude. Um, um, like, I'm Hispanic. Like, I grew up in a super Hispanic area in Miami. Like, my high school was 98% Hispanic. I grew up speaking Spanish around my town, the supermarket, everything was in Spanish,
Mhm.
which matters. And so you learn like the morals, the culture, the core tenets are all Hispanic, even in the United States. And so I moved here, and I was like, I was taught to like open doors and say thank you, and that someone who passes through the door should say thank you. Um, and like, when you enter someone's house, you should make sure that they're aware of you. And you see an adult, you stand up and you say hello, and you shake their hand, and you have a conversation with them, even if you have nothing to say.
Mhm.
Um, and I found that people in New York, like, spit and don't say thank you, and don't hold doors, and they like hit you and whatever. And that it's so easy to get knocked down by that and be changed. But ultimately, like, I decided that some things were just central to my behavior and my being. And those were those things, right? Like, I continue to hold doors, and I continue to say thank you no matter what. Like, if the person doesn't say thank you, that's on them. That's not on me. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
uh, I want to see people, not be awkward as well. It's like something that I have a trouble with. Like, I don't. It's not like, people can be awkward, whatever. But like, I refuse to be awkward, so I'm just gonna throw myself at everyone. And if they think that I'm a lot, then they think I'm a lot. But maybe they think, oh, this guy's funny, and maybe I should be more funny, or just try and be like more free to like fuck up and say the wrong thing. Um, and so hopefully I'm doing that. That's kind of like an implicit mission that
Yeah.
I have as well, right? And you have to just do it yourself. And this is what I think that you're doing as well, right? kind of like, you know what I want to see? Like I want people to like have deeper connections more often.
Mhm.
Um, rather than like on Instagram. It doesn't fucking mean anything, you know?
Mhm.
And so I appreciate this and I value it as well. And but it's hard to promote. It's hard to promote, right? Like people used to be pen pals or um have random connections to people they maybe never see that didn't mean very much. And I still see it sometimes with my parents. You know, I think they have a better ability than my friends that are my age to like not have seen each other in 10 years or spoken in 10 years and be like, oh my God, how are you? I'm so happy. You know, here's
Yeah.
everything I own, you know, like it'll give you everything. Whereas it's like, I feel like I don't talk to my friends for 2 months and they're like, oh yeah, dude, like, I don't know. I don't even want to lend you this guitar, which recently happened to me and it was very
Oh
hurtful.
man.
I was like, dude, I've literally known you for 10 years and you're not lending me your guitar. I would give you the shit off my back.
Yeah. And there's just with so much happening, so much content, so much, I don't know, the word momentum comes to mind. It's like
Mm,
our from my perspective, our memories are just getting more sucked up by the recency of everything. And you can remember long memories from long ago and things may pop up, but they're just the river of life has risen so much
mm,
that we're just swept up in so much and like flooding into the banks and just like, yeah, the thing comes to mind is like there's just so much that people are like trying to process and think through and wade through that we can get lost. We can get lost and distracted and confused as to who we even should be spending our time with, what we should be doing, what direction we're
yeah,
moving in. We're just kind of being taken along. Um,
yeah,
and I would wager that that's an example of a casualty of so much stuff,
damn,
so much that we're wading through, that somebody that you've known for a long time, that if you just stopped to consciously process, like, do I know this person? Do I trust this person? Do I want to help this person? Do I want this interaction to help grow my relationship? Yes. But if you're not consciously stopping and evaluating and thinking for yourself, if you're just liking and going on to the next thing and just moving with the river, then it's more easy and more we're drawn to making snap decisions just to get through this, that, and the other because there's so much coming at us that it's almost like
yeah,
a survival
yeah,
thing. We're just paddling
yeah,
and trying to stay afloat.
I don't know. Yeah, damn, the river of social media, essentially, no?
Hmm.
The river of media. And you know, you can just like isolate yourself, like, or just experience the internet in a different way. My girlfriend, for example, doesn't know any of the memes. I'm constantly sending her memes and teaching her memes, and I'm like, wait, you don't know what are those? I'm like, were you alive in 2017 or whatever though? Like everyone was like, what are those? Right? Like everyone knows that meme. She's like, no, never heard of it. I'm like, what? She didn't grow up watching TV, so she doesn't know SpongeBob. And you know, I think like you kind of have to know SpongeBob to kind of understand the internet these days. At least for people our age. Like I think kids who are younger experience the internet differently.
Yeah.
Um, but um, but yeah, I totally agree. The quantity is so much more. The content's not very different. Think about like the themes are not very different. It's like there's news, there's sports, there's arts, there's celebrity gossip, there's it's just the fucking same thing. Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson breaking up is the same thing as Britney Spears breaking up with whatever her backup dancer boyfriend guy was. It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. Copy paste. 20 years later. Um, one interesting thing that happens on the internet is reevaluations are faster and they happen faster, which is very cool. And I think that's a good thing for journalism as well. To
Mm.
critiques happen way faster. Bang,
Mm.
bang on, same day. That headline is bad. That tweet is racist. Bang, immediately. And that's a good thing.
Mm.
And that's why maybe to a lot of people they feel very attacked because they're like, why is everything racist suddenly? It's because everything is racist. That it's not suddenly, you're just hearing it more because people are
Yeah,
saying because it's obvious and in front of them. So that's a good thing, right? So like social change
yeah.
is accelerating and it's difficult for people and that but so I'll maintain that's the good part. But I think that the trade-off, which is the inability to communicate the dissolution of democratic conversation is bad. Um, I don't know. It's hard to say. I don't know that I can pick one over the other because I really do think that like the ability for us to just like be like this pen is racist and like it not be a joke. Seriously. Yeah, I'm like I don't know that I don't think this one is, but you know,
That's funny.
it seems very frivolous, but I think that the payoff is so high because especially in American culture, it literally is all over the fucking place. In every single little fucking thing. And it's insane. And so that's a very good thing. And a very bad thing is that sometimes because of that same conversation and people's inability to think critically and low level of literacy of certain kinds of conversations, they um use that as a crutch and can't debate or can't um can't have a real disagreement or conflict without breaking. And
Mhm,
that I also think is a part of social media. It's like
mhm,
people used to debate or have conflicts in smaller circles that were more similar to them. Um, and so it was easier to not like explode at our differences because we're so large and so constantly collapsing our contexts. The differences are just more obvious. And so
mm,
it's just easier to be like, but that like is I could never with you because you drive on the wrong side of the street. So how could I ever talk about cars with you? You're literally driving on the other side. It's a whole different thing. And then and the other guy's like, yeah, but you drive on the other side of the street. How the fuck am I going to talk about you? It's like, it's like we can't even talk about automatic or stick shift because we're on the other side. So, um, in the past, Europeans just talked about stick shift. Americans talked about automatic. Now we got cross conversations that wouldn't have been happening 20 years ago because there wasn't a way to have it.
Yeah.
So again, is it good? Yes. Connection ultimately is good. Is Zuckerberg wrong on that? No. Is Zuckerberg wrong on every single decision that he makes every single day to continue to exacerbate the ways in which these conversations are not had? Yes. Does Facebook have a product problem? Yes. It's just a product problem. They scaled
Mm,
so goddamn fast, and their workforce. Do you know that they have the smallest? They make the most money per employee or any company in the whole world. Number one,
mm,
it's like something. It's like a crazy number. Like the next company down makes like $50 billion less, and maybe like $1 million. No, sorry, or like $200,000 less per employee. It's like a crazy thing. I'll send you this link. But that goes to show that if they just employed like 250,000 people more, they'd still have so much fucking money, but they don't. And these are all decisions that are forced by the stakeholders and the stock market and like this idea that he has to keep making money, keep making money, keep making money. And that puts him in the
mhm.
position he's now where he's literally bullshitting NFTs. So it's just like embarrassing, really. And it sucks because I think that that's a guy who's lost his core mission.
Mm,
Like I heard a really good joke at a bar in Bushwick once, which was it's like it was like Facebook's so weird. How I write, it's like Mark Zuckerberg, he just seems like a guy who instead of just talking to someone and being like, hi, I'm Mark, I'm kind of weird, he worked so hard at, and now everyone else is like him and can't stop and have a conversation and be like, oh, hi, I'm sorry, I'm weird, I'm trying, but I'm weird, but I'm trying. And the world where people just try is better than the world where people don't try and like hide behind all these screens and shit, you know?
Yeah.
So the solution is dethrone him because he had his chance and he
Mm.
fucked it. It's unfortunate because it's a great thing. Just created the problem.
Yeah.
I think I'm stuck.
As we come to the end of this, I've got one more question for you, and that comes from a previous interviewee, Itai, who asks, if you had all the financial freedom that you could ever want, what would you do?
It's easy. I've been able to answer this question before. The number one thing I would do is buy myself a Ferrari California from the Ferris Bueller movie. I would do that immediately. That's the first thing I would do immediately. Then I would buy my mom. I would pay off all of my friends' debts. And then I'd buy all my friends, but my mom first part. It would be those three things: Ferrari California, free houses for my friends, and like I don't know, just like people doing good things and like art. You know, have an art like many art houses or whatever. Oh, make college free
Ah, haha.
because it's ridiculous that it's not. Yeah,
Yes. You're a very generous man. Very generous
I'm
vision for the hypothetical
please,
here. I love it.
but please, please, please. First, Ferrari California from Ferris Bueller's movie. Number one.
Well, all generosity
I want it
deserves to
so
be rewarded, huh?
bad. Hopefully. Give me the power, Gabe. God damn it. Give me the power.
If I ever get the chance, if I ever get the power, then I'll throw a lightning bolt of financial freedom your way and watch it sprout all these flowers in the world, starting with a red Ferris Bueller Ferrari.
We must remember that ultimate power corrupts.
Ab
Absolute power corrupts
Absolute power
absolutely.
corrupts absolutely. Yeah,
Oh, watch out.
absolutely. Well, this has been a pleasure chatting. Thank you so much for coming on and opening up the treasure box of thoughts, opinions, perspectives.
My pleasure.